Hello world. So now I would like to show up to you how the application I have done throughout the studies works. So basically, the product category is the owner of the entities with the products. So when I invoke endpoint for books, lazy loaded becomes those. There is also pagination supported with Bootstrap on the Angular side, so I can manipulate those. I can change the page size to see more products in one page and make less of them. I can see the product exactly how it looks like in this component. So that is one functionality, and the consecutive one is, let's say we can choose a keyword and search by it for the products. So you can see by the names I have master of Python, intensive course in Python, and what is more, I can add them and see the notification bar. So after I have added them, they are in here. For the purposes of this presentation, I would like to do it as a logged in user. So this account is created out of the box because that's what I have set up in my migration files, which are located in here. So this is the changelog, and it's including the change sets. And in this change set, I link the SQL files. So here is, for example, the root user, and all the products that you have seen are in here. So after I deployed, I automatically had all this functionality because of the liquid-based migrations. So I can log in. As you have seen, you can also register yourself, but I don't need to do it right now. But the functionality is there, and there is also some validation, as you can see. So let's log in. Here you can see the benefits of being logged in. So we have our previous orders. So let's fill the table somehow. And if you would like to, you can use the S3 to have your avatar. So that's how the manipulation works. Basically, you can see that whenever I choose a different image, let's choose, for example, some winter, there is a post request to store it, and the blob is attached in here, and then I invoke the get method to the same endpoint, and it is returned. After being saved, it's returned from the S3 on Amazon. Here I can manipulate further with what I want to buy. So here, because I am logged in, some information is already inserted into inputs. I can automatically make the billing address the same as shipping to save some time of the user. Here I can choose the credit type. This functionality could have been set up, but I don't want to charge anybody as for now. So it's for the demonstration mainly as things stand. Here is some validation for the amount of numbers of a credit card and security code. Here there is also a link list for the expiration month and year. You can store it, and here in the history, because I am an admin, you can change the status. For example, if the courier has informed the people working on this potential company, the status can be changed if you have some roles that allow you to do it, because I have the role saved in a payload and encrypted with RSA. Let's try to update it so you can see. I have sent a request where I change the status for the order number, and the token must be somehow attached here. Okay, and here is the bearer and token. Of course, in options there is only information if you can proceed. So the next thing is you can delete this order, and the auto refresh goes on, and we have nothing in the shopping cart because it was already proceed. So that would be all of this part. Thanks. Hello, so what I would like to do is show up with some work that I have done during studies. I have also like microservices projects, but I would like to show to the world some of those that have a nice looking and intuitive UI. This time it's with Angular, so it will be, let's say, more illustrative to you. So I have started with the Postgres database. Started with Spring Data, controllers, services, the MVC layer, and after the deploy, I can show you some JSON illustrating what I'm talking about. So the API is a servlet path here, and then I have, for example, a Spring Data repo for products. Then I have some queries there, and I pass the parameters. I can do some pagination as well, and so you can see the ID is changed, and at the end of the page there is some information for the front-end pagination supported by Bootstrap. So after I have set up the basis, then I got more into security topics, so I implemented this part. So here is the filter chain for the project. So as I'm using stateless session because of JWTs, some public URLs that are for the let's say non-logged in users getting to know the page, not necessarily shopping anything. The public endpoint for the actuator, which basically the AWS application load balancer enforced on me to add some handling of problems with authorization. I have also course filter. I'm explicit about the origins, headers, and methods. And I have like 3 templates of course configuration. Based on the endpoint, I specify which operations, which HTTP methods can be invoked on my backend, and so I create course filter at the end. So the API, as I showed you, is for the database endpoints, and the customer is for the managing of your history of the orders, and the checkout is for typing in the details about where the products should have been sent, and etc. So some security on the front end as well. I just use the best practices, I mean interceptors, so I don't have to mess up with the services that I have already made at that point. So here we can see when the public URL is invoked, I just pass on the request, and if there is an endpoint like the account management endpoint I would like to secure, then I just load the token and then clone the request and add it there. Maybe a little bit about the repo. So here are the names of the methods that I type in the URL after search. That's how the intuitive Spring data really is. Those queries I have written myself, but it's easily invoked from the URL. And the modifying annotation, of course, when I want to set or insert in the database with the use of DML structure. Here is the controller, so it's typical for the Spring. Locally I use cross origin with localhost 4200 for the Angular, but it's not necessarily a good practice for AWS, of course. But anyway, I handle the endpoints and pass the operations to the services. I also have some method security with pre-authorize and Spring extension language in it. What is I think interesting is the way that I handle the responses in some cases. As you can see, I have some template response, and instead of returning void, which is not responsive to the front end, I just create an object of HTTP response. So it's, for example, when I upload the file, there is no response to be added, but I can create something like explicitly pass the information about the operation status and things like that, so I can handle it with the premises implementations of the HTTP client in Angular. So I can use some notifications, for example. So it's, of course, I think a lot better approach than returning response entity of type of void. Here is the newest type of functionality. It's about handling the S3. So I have those two endpoints in here, and they invoke the user service interface. The user service interface is using the S3 service, which is just creating put, get, or delete object requests to the given bucket that I have already made on the AWS, passing in the key. I store in the database for each user. So when a user is choosing a new avatar, I also delete the old one. And this way, I want let the user to fulfill the whole database by, let's say, by allowing someone bored to upload photos throughout whole day. So the remove object is connected with put object method, and the database is telling me if this should be invoked prior to the put object, get object. It's simple, of course. And so here is something on the front end. So typical Angular approach. So we have HTTP client, and sometimes I use just the path variable, sometimes I use form data, sometimes I use the body, and sometimes I pass in information about the response type, and it's like that. In this case, for example, the first approach I did with S3 was like linking the source image on the front end, and I was just linking in this URL, for example. But it required public access to this endpoint customer profile image, and so everyone could invoke like somebody else's photo by choosing it like this. So I made it on the security side by providing services that were handling the blob on the Angular and byte array on the backend. So in here, for example, I have the byte array returned from the S3 service. Here I get it as a blob on the Angular side, and then I can just invoke URL, create object URL, pass in the blob, and just link it on the HTML site. I can even show it. So so I have it like this. I point to the image object in here, and the image object is fulfilled with data by the use of the service that I have been talking about. I create the URL for the blob, and that's it basically. So it's pretty straightforward to do with Angular. So what I would like also to talk about is the Docker file for the front end. So that is what I have built with Node and Nginx. Then I have pushed it to the Docker Hub, and similarly it was done with POM XML by the use of chip library for the backend. So I made sure that I have the right platform, and after some research, when I was sure that my operating laptop with the CPU that I have will handle AMD 64 better, and also it came out to be like 5 times quicker build in my example because of the architecture that I have. So that was an easy choice. I set up Elastic Beanstalk instance also this type of architecture. So then I just used some tags for the build, and by using prefix docker io and plugin of zip and this lifecycle zip build, I have pushed it remotely. So here are my images that I have pushed with the Docker file and Docker push, like that on the front end, and this was done automatically with zip. It's about the backend. So when I have set up the images beanstalk, there was a need for some CI/CD. So basically, for example, right now I'm working on feature S3. So when the feature is done, I push it to the main. So the CD is set up on branch main, and there are some jobs. Because I have backend and frontend in the same project, the working directory is set up as backend. So there is a database to start with. When the database is set up, I just do the checkout and I clone the project. So after it's done, I just sent a message to my Slack environment that I have started a new deployment, and then I set up the JDK that is compliant with the one in POM XML. Then I log into Docker Hub. Of course, I don't expose the secrets publicly. So the next step is making a build number because I want the AWS to see the every change as new and rebuild the environment, and also it's good for versioning. If I would like to go back to some kind of version, everything is posted to Slack again. Then I just use the command gbuild as I told you before about it. So I push a new image with the new code to Docker Hub. The next step is passing this build number, which is basically a date, to the Docker run AWS JSON, which is basically just having this tag in here after the name of the user in Docker Hub and name of the project, the repository that I have there. And of course some environment variables. At the beginning I had some problems because I was using a different database than EBDB, which is by default set up by Beanstalk. So I had to connect to the EC2 instance and create then. I was checking again. I was updating the project, and then I was able to connect. But anyway, that is the only application that I have on the Beanstalk. So the host port is 80 in here, so I don't have to specify the port in the environment file in the front end. And this is some interesting stuff because here is something that I use locally in the environment TS file. These are the endpoints, and in here I have the endpoints of the backend, and I just use command ngbuild --prod, and it's just replacing this file with the prod one, and so everything works great on the AWS Amplify. So after I have pushed new version with new tag to the Docker Hub, I make a deploy to Elastic Beanstalk, and every time I inform Slack channel about what I'm doing. So if the deploy was successful, I can commit the Docker run with the new tag version and inform about it on Slack. So this is how it's going in. Basically, some hard coding is helpful. For example, I show on the Slack channel which commit I'm deploying. So here is a hard-coded part to commit, and then github.sha is pointing to the hash of the commit, so the whole URL is created at the end, and it's pointing to GitHub. So that's mostly about the backend and the front-end part. What can I show more is I have also GitHub Actions in here. So every build is validated with the CI, which is basically what I showed earlier, setting up a database, Maven, Java version, and running some verify or package Maven commands. So here is one result, here is the result of the deploy to the Beanstalk. So here I have some security groups. Default one, from what I remember, was allowing me to connect to the RDS instance of my database, which is by default created by Beanstalk. So that is definitely useful when I started. Here I have some information about the port ranges that I have, the inbound rules for my application. So the 80 was by default, I guess, 22 also, because I was connecting with PuTTY with private key to this instance from my local computer, and 443 was added after I set up the certificate. for my web page. In here I was using the ALB health checks, set up it to Actuator Health, which is basically informing me about the status of the application. So if one instance was down, for example, the load balancer would just be passing traffic to the other one. Here is my instance, nothing extraordinary about that. And here is my EC2 command line. I like to connect to my EC2 a lot because when I had some problems with the deploy, it was always in the logs. Sometimes I had wrong database in my environment in the current AWS JSON and things like that. When I was starting, then this was very helpful. And it can be done like this. Then I just look the logs like that. So the Amplify is setting up the continuous delivery for us, which is amazing thing. It was really straightforward, and I also set up domain management in here. So I used the domain that I have bought for the backend and just used a different subdomain to like redirect to my main frontend. So Ecommerce is for frontend, and as you can see in here, Ecommerce shop is for the backend. So it's all within the subdomains, and here is the CNAME. I have copied this and I passed it to the route 43, and it started working, and it activated my domain at the end. So I was using it with this setup. I chose CNAME, and here I was just passing the subdomain, the same that I chosen in here. So it connected with each other and set it up for me. And then I was also playing a lot with S3. I created a bucket and created some rules for it. I specified in my JSON file strictly the resource ARN name for my bucket to list all objects on it, and to use the get, delete, and put methods on its objects. And as you can see here, I have my policy attached. Basically S3 was pretty straightforward for me. I only needed to create this AWS credentials file to play with it locally, and then after the applications were deployed, I have to attach some policies to my role that I created Elastic Beanstalk with, and I created this kind of policy, and and checked it in the IAM policy simulator. So I guess I got logged out at some point and it needs to be refreshed. But basically I really wasn't too open with the policy. Like let's choose create axon ground. And my S3 instance. I'm sure I was checking the root object on a given one. So let's check this. And it's ARN. And it's working. But if I would like to do it on all of them, I think it shouldn't run. Yes, it's denied. Because I have specified the resource and it's only the e-commerce shop bucket that I can participate in. So that would be the technical part about my application. So thank you for your time.